Shalom, Yasharallah. This your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rachakwadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that taught us this truth and ever will. And salutation and much love for you, Aki, pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I'm going to jump into this here lesson real quick. Not going to try to make this too long, but nevertheless, it's looking as far as some of the, blowback of these things, these conflicts and things that's taking place, over in the Ukraine and Russia scenario. All right. But nevertheless, basically, you have an economic, woes that are taking place right now, whether you know it or not, or you believe that these things, because, again, living in a city that dwells carelessly here in Babylon the Great, most people think that, oh, they ain't got nothing to do with us. We ain't gonna, there's no effects of these things. And, and there's a lot deeper things that's going on behind the scenes that it does involve America, but also America and these other nations are also going to feel the effects of these things, man. Going inside your grocery stores and the gas pumps, I've been hearing some of these regular Americans, throughout this whole scenario, say, hey, man, make sure you get, while I was getting gas, like, make sure you top off on gas because this here stuff's going to have, these unintentional effects and everything else like that. They're talking about gas prices going up and everything else like that. But, hey, ultimately it's a squeeze play to, further damage the world economies to push it to what, Revelation 13 and 16 on down. All right. But nevertheless, they want this here system to collapse. But as you can see, these things are starting to have certain effects. And the main everyday person would sit here and look at these things and say, it's not going to really affect me. But, hey, when they're going into grocery stores and seeing these gas prices going up and the items that's being shipped around the world go up, then they'll understand. All right. So let's just read a couple of these headline titles. It says EU includes carved out and ban on dealing with Russia's central bank. All right, going in with the economics. Europeans to pay the price for Russian sanctions, top EU officials. All right. It says gas prices in Europe jumped 35% among Russia's supply worries. And now Russia supplies a lot of natural gas to Europe. All right. And then also, with the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines. All right. They pretty much once Russia pretty much acknowledged the independence of these two separate basically entities or states now or countries now in Ukraine. All right, they pretty much put the cancelization on the Nord Stream 2, from Germany, and that's all being, pushed off by America, and their counterparts. But hey, who is it really affecting, man? All right, because Germany didn't want to so-called okay, the so-called inspection or the startup of that gas line. Who is it really affecting? It's affecting them. All right, now you have to understand Russia's paying off, not going too much to these logistics, but Russia's paying to run gas through Ukraine, man. All right. But nevertheless, man, all these things are being pushed forth from, the propaganda from America, man. These other nations have to sit here and suffer because of America's bolstering and things like that, man. Like I've been going into over the last few days about how, who's really paying the price for these things. We're seeing these Europeans, all right, the Ukrainians and things like that, because America was over there talking all this shit to Russia, all right, using them as a proxy. Now, look, Ukraine is over there being destabilized because of what America was doing, not because of what Ukraine was doing, but what America was doing and their involvement in their area. All right. And, they're talking about all of Europe is being threatened. All right. That's because of what America's doing. You don't really see these European nations that's over here wolfing off at Russia. If anything, they're trying to cut deals with them. All right. It says Russian exports ordered to convert most foreign currency to rubles. Russia's central bank takes ruble off life support. Russia blames UK for that's a different one, but nevertheless, Germany once limited Russia's SWIFT ban. All right, and SWIFT is one of the ways of international trade and everything else like that. But hey, you do all those things, a lot of your supplies and your goods are going to be costing more and more money, man. All right, so hey, all they're really doing is devaluing these global currencies, preparing you for this. We can start with that real quick. Preparing you for this here, the MOTB, Revelation 13 and 16, it says, and it's not just this, you also have the scenario that they have with the little love potion they pushing out, all right, with the passport. See, all this is going to encompass itself into this one, one size fits all package, man. All right, we can see who's good and who's not good. We can see who's got their little validation check mark. All right, you'll be able to buy and sell at a stabilized global currency and economy, so you don't have to worry about certain countries and how do you say, the downtrodden of their whatever their currency is. All right, we could just have a stable currency throughout the whole globe, man. All right, but nevertheless, let's go ahead and read this in Revelation 13 and verse 16. It says, "And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads." All right, so hey, this is pretty much what you're about to start seeing being made mandatory around the globe. All right, they already have the technology out. You already have people that's already putting forth these things, right? It says, "And that no man might buy or sell, save he that have the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name." And as you can see, they're trying to already cut Russia off from international trades and things like that, trying to cut Russia off from certain things as a so-called weapon to stop them in their tracks, or to get them to turn around and things like that. This is what a lot of the sanctions are all about. All right, they'll sanction certain banks, all right, from doing business or having trades. It's like, what, if let's just say this certain bank has Russian assets in it or whatever, they can sit there and freeze those assets, so now Russia can't get their money out of these certain things or certain banks and things like that, man. So it's a tool used to so-called cripple the trade, for a whole country's trade and things like that. But nevertheless, hey, all these things doing is, you put a plug of passage in one spot, it builds up pressure in another spot, man. All right, until you have a bunch of ruptures or a bunch of, how do I say, disruptions along the path, man. All right, so like, hey, we can go into these things, man. Well, if Russia can't sell gas or natural gas to Europe, all right, well, what is that going to cause? It's going to cause an energy crisis in Europe. They're going to have to import energy from somewhere else, which is going to cause the energy prices for the everyday Europeans to have to pay more there. Well, if they have to pay more for their energy, how much more how much less they're going to have for so-called groceries and things like that, all right? You start buying less on this, and then now, it's a cause and effect, more or less to say, man, all right? But nevertheless, also with these conflicts that's going on over there, you got a no-fly zone over Ukraine, which is causing these planes to be diverted to go around, which is causing a higher cost of fuel price for those planes to fly that further path, all right, which is going to cause the flight tickets to go up. All these different things that's going on around the globe have, how do I say, economic effects, man. All right, whether you want to see it or you don't see it, you got ships that's going in and out around the globe that's so-called not in safe zones. You have countries that were once, how do I say, so-called peaceful when it came to trade, but now it's like, well, we can't trade because we kind of like fighting a war, and your allies are on this side, and my allies are on that side, causing rifts in the systems, man. All right, but then again, like I said, who's ultimately paying? We just look at this article real quick. It says the EU, it's pretty much Europeans are paying the price for these things, man. So, hey, how is it that the Europeans are paying a price when the conflict ain't even got to deal? It's not really, in there. In, how do I say? It's between Russia and the Ukraine, more or less to say. But how are they feeling the price? Well, Russia's supplying them with natural gas and things like that. They're like, well, y'all want to keep supplying our adversaries with guns, we'll stop supplying you with energy and things like that, and gas like that. So, hell, now your people might freeze throughout the winter and things like that, man. So, nevertheless, there's a lot of different warfare that's going on around the globe, man. All right. Now, let's go into Mark 13, I'm going to read from verse 7 on down. It says, And when you should hear of wars and rumors of wars, be ye not troubled, for such things must need be, but the end is not yet. All right, and we're right now seeing conflicts that's taking place. All right, and you have even more rumors of things escalating even further, and things getting up even bigger. But we know that, again, according to the prophecies, the visions are set for an appointed time. All right, there's certain things that have to take place first, like we read about the MOTB, that has to be fully implemented, like the scripture say, when he's about to fill his belly. All right, then the Most High is going to rain it upon him. And we know that, this is going to happen down in the valley of Yahweh Shaphat. So, between America and Russia, and the beast is going to hate the whore. So these are the things to build up to getting into those scenarios at that point in time. We know that this isn't the end. All right, so let me see. Read verse 7 again. It says, And when you hear of wars and rumors of wars, be not troubled, for such things must need be, but the end is not yet. All right. It says, For nation shall rise against nation. And so, wait, going back into the end is not yet. These things are going to keep escalating to make until things get worse and worse and worse and worse. All right, the scripture says it's going to be a time like never was since there was a nation, even into the same time. All right, so, hey, you're going to have way worse conflicts right now. This thing between Russia and the Ukraine is not even on the scale of what was popping off in World War I, let alone World War II, let alone the whole skirmish in the Middle East. Because in the Middle East, you had all of NATO pretty much bombing multiple countries over there in the Middle East, after 2001. Right now, you just basically have Russia going at it with the Ukraine. All right. Verse 8, it says, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes in diverse places." All right, here's one of the parts I want to get to. It says, "And there shall be famines and troubles, such as these are the beginning of sorrows." So, going into these things, these are the beginning of sorrows that's going to start taking place. Let me grab something real quick. These things are all, the beginning of sorrows. What war, like we were going into, these wars and things like that have how I say, elevated consequences to the economic trade routes of certain things going on around the planet, man. All right, so hey, certain things can cause disruptions, just like how we seen that one was Evergreen shipping container get stuck get stuck in the lane, which caused things to get backed up. All right, the pandemic shutting down and people, shutting down these plants is causing a lot of things to so-called back up the supply chains and things like that, man. All right, but nevertheless, also war has these same effects. Let me go to Second Ezra 16, verse 18. "The beginning of sorrows and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death." All right, and again, we're going into these famines and things like that, man. All right, not just the famine of so-called actual bread, but just your buying power getting less and less and less. All right, how much does it cost you to put a full tank of gas in your car nowadays, man? All right, and then that's predicated on how much it's going to actually cost you to get to work. Some people have, you have a job, you have to drive so far out to get to that job, and you don't make that much money coming back. Let's say you're a server in a restaurant, and it costs you what, $10-15 to get to work every day, and now the restaurant's super slow, nobody's coming in because whatever reasons, let's say the pandemic, you don't make that much money. Now you didn't pay $10-15 to get to work, made $10 in tips, now you got to drop $10-15 worth of gas back home. You're actually losing money going to work at that point in time, so it's not very profitable for you in these times, man. Things are getting stretched thin. And then you go look in the grocery store about the price of food and everything else like that, and then also the shortages of certain things, materials and things like that, man. All right, you may have certain materials that's being held back that you may need for a certain job or a certain thing to get done. There's people still talking about they order furniture a year and 2 years ago, but they can't get the furniture in because of whatever woes they have going on, man. So how much more just when it comes to these necessities that's going out here on the block, man, and they have supply and demand. All right, hey, the demand for this is so high, but the supply is very low. So now we can charge an arm and a leg for this here last piece of meat, all right, because there's a scarcity of it, all right, or these last little boxes of feminine products or whatever. These things are going to start being raised up at the register, man. All right, this is verse 18, "The beginning of sorrows and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear." All right, it says, "The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come?" All right, so hey, ultimately, we're coming into a bad time, man. All right, again, like I've been saying over the time, a lot of the people, they would like to tell us to stop with the negativity. They don't want to hear about these things, or I don't watch the news and I don't care about what's going on in the world. It's so depressing and everything else out there. But hey, man, over these last couple years, no matter how you felt about these things, no matter how much you wanted to ignore these things, all right, the Most High has made it clear and obvious of what's going on, man. All right. Everybody was forced to sit down and shut up at the time of the pandemic taking place with your lockdowns, all right, and what they call the Great Resignation, all right, the mass unemployment, all right. Now you're seeing these woes in the grocery store at the prices there, all right, your pump prices and everything else like that at the gas stations. So everybody's feeling all these things, man. Everybody done heard about this Ukraine scenario, but not everybody knows how it's going to affect them. You still have a lot of people that's out there with the mindset that they don't want to hear about these things. But hey, ultimately, what the men of the Lord, the prophets, the words of the Lord, more or less, should I say, are going to stand true, man. All right, everybody's going to pretty much hear about these things, and then everybody's going to feel some type of discomfort from these things, man. Everybody's going to be so-called shaken up of these things, man, because hey, the Most High's words are going forth, man. Are you going to acknowledge Him? All right, it says Verse 19, it says, "Behold, famine and plague and tribulation and anguish are sent for scourges for an amendment. But for all these things they should not turn from their wickedness, nor always be mindful of the scourges." It says, hey, and these things were sent for them to get right, man. All right, just like right now in the whole Ukraine scenario, all these things is going on, and the Europeans and stuff like that, them having to pay extra at the register for a lot of these things. You know, if they were smart enough to wake up, they would tell their world leaders, all right, to stop pushing up against Russia, stop doing these things, because all it's doing is really having a negative effect on them. All right, they're the ones having to pay for these things, man. The so-called rulers of these people, they ain't really paying no price of these things. It's the everyday average person, man. The average person in Ukraine is losing their homes, their jobs, and things like that, and paying more for resources in their areas, not the leaders of those places, man. All right, the same in Europe and things like that, man. All right, but nevertheless, it's all for what? These international bankers, their own gain to line their own pockets and things like that. But nevertheless, hey, these people, they're not going to wake up from these things. They're going to go 10 toes down on these things. You know what? Oh, they believe in the propaganda in the media, and they say, keep going forward with these things. Hey, we got to go do something about Russia, which is going to ultimately just bring their own demise, man. And look, they don't understand these things, but hey, they was blinded, and the elect is going to see these things, man. All right, and arise and depart from, walking hand in hand with this here place, man. All right. Let me just continue on for time's sake here real quick. Second Ezra 6:22, it says, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, and the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. All right, so hey, one day everything is all good. The next day, like with this Ukrainian conflict, things could just pop off. Now all of a sudden you're starting to see the rise in prices of things. You have some people that was a couple of weeks ago probably planning a vacation, planning to go here and there, had their little Airbnb set out where they was going and ready to go, and then all of a sudden they hear on the news there was a war breaking out. Now we can't fly over there because there's conflict, or hell, we already over there, now we can't get back because there's a conflict, or now the price of all these things just skyrocketed. And I was planning on going to go buy a new motorcycle, go buy this, go buy that, go take this here vacation, but now all of a sudden the price of gas has skyrocketed, and we don't know what's coming around the corner, man. The stock market just took a plunge, and now we losing out massively over these things, man. So now what are we gonna do, man? All these things start coming upon these people unawares, man. All right, the supply chain backup, these things hit Americans real hard because they're not used to things like this. They're always used to having things right there at the tip of their finger, 24 hours a day, 365 days out the week. They have an abundance of things where they can just throw away things, but now it's kind of getting scarce, man. All right, I've been hearing people saying, hey, I used to go and splurge on food at the grocery store, go buy, this, and that, have multiple things for dinner at nighttime, multiple courses a meal for dinner at nighttime. Now we only need just enough to feed us to get by for the day in, day out, because I can't afford to go out. $100 don't buy you what it used to buy you beforehand. You may have gotten a whole cart for $100, and nowadays you can only get 3 or 4 items for $100, man. All right, so hey, all these things are now starting to come upon the earth. Now all these people are starting to feel these woes and these economic drawbacks, man. But it's only going to get worse, man. All right, it says, and at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand. Let me go up. I think I skipped this. Verse 23, it says, and the trumpet shall give a sound, in which every man heareth, they shall suddenly be afraid. All right, and now look, these wars and things are popping off. All right, or these conflicts are popping off, and people are now wondering, what are we going to do next? What's going on with this and that, Or I might have had some kids, what was Biden saying, hey, I urge all Americans to leave from these certain areas and things like that. You have a lot of these Edomites that are sending their kids overseas to go to school and things like that, or go travel here and there, or they may have businesses over on those sides of the globe. But then, nevertheless, these conflicts take place. Now they wind up being stuck over there. They don't know how things are going to wind up faring for these people, man. All right, it says, verse 24, and at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. And the springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. All right, because ultimately, when it comes down to a scarcity of food and a scarcity of resources, man, all right, friends become enemies, man. All right, those are going to be the first targets that you're going to come across, because, wow, those are what you would call a soft target. All right, this has been your friend. You know where they live at. You know what they actually hold in their house, whether they have ways to defend themselves or they don't. All right, you know about how much food they've been stocked up, and so it's easier for you to run up on them than to take a chance running up into somebody else's house that you don't know who's all living in that house, what type of defenses they have, and even after you go through all of that bullshit, you don't even know if they have any resources that was worth going through that whole battle for, man. All right, so what? It's going to be your friends that you're going to go running through first, those soft targets that you already know. Oh, man, homegirl live by herself. You know what I'm saying? She got all kind of food in her pantry and everything else like that. We could just run up in there, you know what I'm saying, and we could just take her on, versus going up as nah, homeboy is him, his 3 brothers, they all strapped up in there, and they ain't even got no food. They spend more money on honey buns and what you call that, Mountain Dew. We ain't going up in there for that, hey, unless it come to that certain point, but that'd be the last place you want to run up into, man. But nevertheless, hey, these are the things that's coming upon the earth, man. All right, these are the things that you're starting to see build up around the globe as we speak right about now, man. All right. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and close out with that. Lord's will, the elect was edified with this. You get to see these things that's taking place, man. All right, because hey, just because there's conflicts around the globe, that's not right here on your doorstep, is speaking to you, carelessly dwelling Americans. All right, don't think that these things ain't gonna have consequences on you, man. All right, hey, next time you go to the grocery store, see how much these certain food products are costing you, man. All right, and it's not just because of this Ukrainian situation. You have other things going on. We already read earlier about Revelation 13 and 16 about the end game goal. All right, but you're getting closer and closer and closer to these days, man. A lot of people want to laugh and scoff, but what the scriptures say at the end, the vision shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come and not tarry. Roughly paraphrasing. So right now we're in a time of these prophecies actually speaking, these things being fulfilled, these things being built up, these things being made manifest. All right. So what should you be doing? What manner of conversation ought you to be in these last times? All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and close out with that. Lord will, the elect was edified with this here lesson. Until next time, I'm gonna say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders, a great millstone that taught us this truth and every well. And salutation and much love for you. I can pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I'm gonna say, stay strong. Shalom.